Welcome everyone to this brief on starting well. Even though the topic was mostly focusing on relationships and beginnings and relationships, this knowledge can be applied in anything in our daily life, especially when we want to start or restart something and give it the direction which we feel it will be the most beneficial for our destiny. So, of course, this kind of topic is quite vast. There is a large body of knowledge that can be found today, but not only today, I would dare to say in the ancient time, different civilizations have been developing an entire science of time cycles. They have a view even on the way events unfold in time and space that is today starting to resemble very much with the frontier of science, especially to the research in quantum physics. But I won't go that far also, not so far back or so far forward. We will stay in the now. And first of all, very often people are wondering, and that question I'm sure it appears in the case of most of us tonight. Why is the beginning so amazing and somehow different than what comes next? And even if we refer to a relationship, we refer to a new project, sometimes even a new job, which we just got from, let's say, from our education, still always the beginning carries something extraordinary, some charm. And of course, this charm very often is becoming the target of our efforts to keep it, to preserve this charm of the beginning. And this is the second most asked questions when talking about projects that fulfill us. How can we keep this charm of the beginning? And of course, in relation to that, very often people are wondering if we can be sure that a relationship will grow into something that we wanted. Actually, very often today we rationalize the heart. We are thinking before acting, and this process of rationalizing the heart is very often in terms of, is it worth it if I go in that direction, even if it's a direction that is love, or it's something dictated obviously by one of our heart's choices, but still we filter it through this kind of process and we are wondering, is it worth it? Should I invest in that direction? This is one of my favorite topics when people come with it, and they are wondering if it's worth the investment in time, in efforts, and so on. And of course, this kind of question is justified by the fact that we realize, at least intuitively, that there are so many things that can interfere in a process of growth of a relationship or a project or a job or an aspiration that we have. And then, of course, we are wondering, can we be sure that it will go in the direction we want, in the direction we aspire to, and how can we secure that? And we will tonight maybe hint in that direction, because it will be a little bit too much to claim that we can reveal all the secrets of the answers to these questions, but I'm sure this will be quite revealing for many of you. So I chose two mottos of this talk. First one, journey of the ego has no clear beginning, but a clear and distinct end. the journey of the awakened soul have a clear beginning, but does not have an end. And the second motto, which is related to the topic tonight, and also it tells another angle. It goes like this: the one aspiring to endless happiness in love should always remain in the beginning. These two mottos, they are coming from the spiritual tradition, more precisely from the tantric tradition. They can be found in different texts, in different forms. They reveal something profound, what we were wondering tonight. The first element we focus upon is to see if there is a way to preserve the moment of the beginning. If there is a way to create this continuation of the beginning. And of course, our view upon time as a linear, constant, and independent unfolding of events is preventing us to see any solution. Beginning has an end. Beginning is not something we choose. It's something that happens, is placed always as the first thing in a series of events related to each other by a purpose, by a goal, by a certain law. And therefore, once the beginning is consumed, it's pushed out by the unfoldment of the rest of the events, of the rest of the sequence. And for this reason, we conclude, and we never consider any other possibility, that, of course, the beginning is passing. And even though we noticed intuitively that in a relationship as well as in many other actions in our life, beginning is magical, we agree somehow in a kind of consensus trance that these beginnings can't last. These magic beginnings can't last. The esoteric tradition is actually providing us with a completely different view, a view that is quite surprisingly similar to the view that today, I would say, with timid pace, science is coming and firming. The beginning is a magic moment when the power of grace, we can say, manifests. This is the reason why it feels so great. And the answer to the question if we can preserve this moment of beginning is yes, we can. But for that, we will suffer a fundamental transformation regarding the way we look upon time, the way we look upon our life in time. And the key word, if you want, or the key expression, because it's not one word, it's two words, about this answer is continuous transformation. With other words, the transformation itself is somehow, from a certain perspective, free of time effects. Transformation is that process that process in which beginning is frozen. Beginning is continuous during the process of transformation. Automatically, beginning is consumed. You see, this is an answer that can be intuitively validated by each of us. When we are in the middle of a process that is profoundly transforming, when, for instance, we learn a lot, we feel that the beginning is there, the inspiration, the grace is there, everything is constantly renewed and fresh. The best example in this respect is that time of our life where beginnings happens every moment, which is childhood. In the life of a person, childhood is the time of enormously many beginnings. It's like a very, very long beginning, childhood. And of course, if you look into what is common to the between us as adults, grown-ups, and childhood, and what is different, what is common is us. The consciousness of I is the same. We are exactly the same people. We have no doubts about this. If any of you have doubts that you are the same, then of course you have to do some genealogical investigation, see if you are the same person as you were in the childhood. But I can assure you that the result will be quite surprising. You are the same person as you were as a child. However, what is different is the fact that when we were children, we were learning every day from walking, using the physical body, using the other systems that we have. We were experiencing feelings, we were experiencing colors, we were experiencing everything for the first time, at least in this life. And because of that, we were in a process of continuous transformation. And that process of continuous transformation was keeping away the end, was keeping away this moment in which the beginning is finished. Then, of course, in our life there appear repetitions. Repetitions which are, in fact, just a motion. We cannot actually repeat anything exactly. There are always some things that are new, that are irreplaceable, that we cannot repeat, but we invent repetition, we approximate things, we say, yeah, this I know, at least in average, I know it. And because of that, we start to repeat things, and then beginning is no more. And this is what happens with everything, including relationships. The density of beginnings, we can say, in the first weeks and months of a relationship is very high. After that, the density, if you want, the first times in that relationship, it starts to be more rare, more scarce. And not by coincidence, this is exactly the time when also that intensity, that magic of the beginning is gone. For this reason, this motto that comes from this tantric wisdom, the one aspiring to endless happiness in love should always remain in the beginning. To remain in the beginning is to remain in the full field of transformation. Now today we have a quite difficult relationship with transformation. We want to keep things as they are. We have an almost obsessive preoccupation to security and to preserve things as they are. And because of that preoccupation, without realizing, we are constantly obsessed with having no beginnings. We rush through the beginning, even though it's the most amazing time, and we go towards this area where everything is clear. There are no surprises, everything is settled. But together with that, it comes the time when we have absolutely no thrill anymore, because, let's face it, part of the excitement, part of the aliveness, part of life itself is the spontaneity and the surprise. And of course, nobody says that we can live a life without a schedule, but there is a lot of room in our heart for spontaneity, a room that we fill up with predictability, at least with the idea of predictability, because if we carefully look in the everyday schedule even, we will notice a lot of moments when, without our consent, things got in a different way, surprisingly, but we take that surprise instead of joyfully, we take it hard because we're not open anymore to transformation. For this reason, in order to set up correctly for life, for a happy relationship even, it's very important, it's highly important to yeah, I will put the I hope you can hear better. So in order to set up for this correct approach, it's very good to learn to remain in this process of transformation. Now, I cannot talk enough about this urge for us to learn to remain in the process of transformation. I was talking last week with some friends about how much people enjoy today to get out of school and how little they learn afterwards. I met people who finished schooling a few years ago, the appetite, the freshness, and even the ability to learn something new. They practically regurgitate everything they have learned in the years of schooling, but there is no more this hunger, this thirst to accumulate new knowledge. They just recombine the things they learn. They just learn from sources like YouTube and other kind of sources, new things. And even about relationships, those who have learned in the beginning, they went to a seminar, to a webinar, to learn something about relationships, were young and wanting to start something profoundly, but then after a while they don't educate anymore and learn anymore with the same speed. Of course, we have the tendency to say, but I still learn something, I still get something. But if we look quantitatively, it's a very clear drop. And that is not a coincidence, because the speed of transformation is proportional with the speed of learning, because the learning process in itself, in any domain, including relationships, is a part of our transformation, is also a sign of transformation. And in relationship, the process of learning is in relationships, the process of learning is sometimes extremely important. And to give you an example in this, an example that we give to our students, for instance, in the Tantra class very often, how much do you learn today in school or when you are a teenager, and we need so much about emotions, how to handle emotions, how to express emotions harmoniously, how to know yourself and your emotions. How much do you learn about the sexual life? These two, emotional life, sexual life, intimacy, these are fundamentals of a harmonious relationship. And one cannot learn, I would say, cannot learn enough about this. One can learn continuously a lot, and still there is something to discover. And each relationship, that entire universe of experiments and learning deeper about this phenomena that we call relationships. And of course, this is again valid. It can be extrapolated for everything in our life. In every aspect, project, in every domain we walk in, there is still room, even after the beginning is long gone, at least in the calendar, there is still room for transformation, there is still room for learning. Of course, transformation is not easy because we get used with a certain comfort, our ego gets stronger, and we like to settle, so to speak. And we like to stop this anxiety of surprises and to have a secure life. Do not forget one thing: the most secure hypothesis in life is to be dead. Dead people have no surprises, they don't even change the address forever. You can always find them, or at least their dead bodies, where you buried them. They are the most secure partners. So, in this respect, we unconsciously hope for dying. We kind of set up while being alive, die slowly. And it's not a coincidence, people today, even at early ages or earlier than ever, they feel they have nothing left to live for. That is because unconsciously our mentality is a suicidal mentality, is a mentality that is leaving us nothing because we eliminated everything for the sake of an illusory order and predictability. In relationships, this is the most toxic attitude. In relationships, to be sure about your lover, to be sure about the love that you have in a relationship, there is only one way: to love continuously without expecting anything in exchange. This is a simple observation, yet very many couples forget about that. And then they want to settle. You hear again and again this aspiration: I wish this moment, or I wish our love to last forever. Then they do much less for that. In the beginning, of course, you love the other one because there is no tomorrow, you don't know what will happen, plus you don't know the other one. You just count on your own love. But then you have the impression you know the other one. Thus, you kind of start to predict that you love me like this or like that. And then when things are different, and I don't want to say in a good or a bad way, when things are different, people take that as something goes wrong. You can't imagine how many times I've seen couples reporting problems while they just report transformations. Imagine a pair of parents going to the doctor with their child and telling to the doctor, look, doctor, our child is sick. What happens? He's growing. Well, the doctor will be compassionate, obviously, because those parents really don't understand parenthood and basic aspects of life. But, of course, I guess we can't find, or maybe we can, because in the history of medicine you can find almost any kind of human behavior, but I guess not so many times doctors were confronted with this kind of parents. But you can't imagine how many times I personally have seen couples going to somebody to help them, to a therapist or something, reporting growth in their relationship, but of course mistaking the process of transformation and growth as something bad. And they say, we have a problem. Yeah, it's called transformation. From my experience, most of the problems that appear in a relationship later on or from the very beginning are generated by a natural process of transformation. For this reason, by shifting the perspective, by getting ready to transform, we eliminate most of the potential problems. Instead of trying to operate our child, in this case the relationship, because it's growing, we will feed, we will actually encourage, we will congratulate our relationship for growing. Now it's getting mature, of course. What was very cute, exactly like a child, is very cute and playful in the beginning. You cannot accuse a child when he reaches 20 and he's bigger than you, hey, you're not fun anymore. You used to be such a cute little toy we were playing with. Now you are bigger than us, we start to be afraid of you. That would be a very poor parent. But very often we do that with our relationship. We try to keep the relationship retarded. Of course, in the beginning, it's all about jiggling and winking at each other and stealing a kiss in the locker room and all these things. But you can't remain always like that with kind of behavior. The behavior is transforming into something even more profound. You will reach to tears of ecstasy reading to your lover a poem. That doesn't happen in the beginning unless you want to be considered a freak. But if you do that, if you continue to mature, at some point you will have, for instance, the ecstatic peace in your heart when both of you just finished a project for the others done in complete harmony together. That is a form of ecstasy that only a profound relationship can provide. It is, of course, very difficult to reach there if you just aim to preserve the relationship at the level of giggling and telling jokes. So, for this reason, here are some advices about learning to have a good relationship with transformation. First of all, let go of what you had in the past and what you can have in the future. Live your relationship now. You will discover that relationships have amazing potential in every moment to provide you not only with what your ego would like, but also to provide you with things that you need to learn, with aspects of life that you probably ignored, but now you have a chance to correct that mistake. But of course, why we consume the beginning is because we start to anticipate, and we anticipate because we try desperately to preserve the past. And for this reason, this first advice, let go of what you had in the past. Yes, yesterday could have been amazing, but today is another day. Today it could be amazing in a different way. Today we could have an amazingly profound talk about us. Yesterday we had an amazingly fun time commenting on a stupid movie. Tomorrow we might have an amazing time taking care of one of or the other one because we were ill, and so on. So, or of course, this idea of having a future. Like when you hear people asking, "Is the life will be from now on?" This is one of the most frequent questions I heard. And of course, first of all, one can not stop noticing the degree of stupidity in this kind of question and arrogance. Really, what you are a fortune teller. When you ask such a question, you assume you kind of intuitively know that this is how it will be like from now on. Who can tell that? Why even asking? So, of course, we can say almost for sure, no, something will happen. And it's funny, people don't ask about this when something is phenomenally good. They don't ask being worried. Really, this is how happy it will be our life from now on? So, that's why they are just expressing, without us knowing, some incapacity to cope with these things that we experience now in this moment. All this, clear your mind, and in this way your heart will shine through, because the heart lives only now, and you will be happily acknowledging it if you let go of this history of your relationship, or if you let go of the potential history that lays ahead. Another idea is to give up the idea to keep what you have now. Enjoy it and let it go. As I gave this example with the child, enjoy the child as it is, as a newborn, as a teenager, as an adult. You can't try to keep it like that. You wouldn't feed your child with hormones for stop growing because you enjoy that little body like a toy, of course. That would be so outrageous. But many people even go to therapists to give, if possible, some hormones to their relationship in order to stop it from growing. So therefore, just give up the idea that you can keep it. Let it grow. It will grow into something that it springs out from your hearts. But of course, your ego is the only enemy of that. The ego wants to keep what the ego has now because the ego has you. And that's the biggest achievement of your ego. That's why if the ego would not have you, trust me when I say you will never want to keep what is now. You will be so well enjoying it, very detached from it. You enjoy it now, and you enjoy now, and you enjoy now. You enjoy every moment. Only the ego is that shadow of ours trying to keep the illusion of what it is that we gain now. Another important element to preserve this moment of the beginning is to realize the need and the joy for transformation. See, very often we need to learn something. We need to transform something. We have an inhibition. We notice it. Even in intimacy, people carry with them in bed, in bedroom, a lot of garbage they got before. And intuitively we know it's a little bit unfair. She or he shouldn't be responsible for that. But make a note somewhere in your secret agenda there and transform that. Maybe not in the first moment, but while you still have credit, so to speak, go for the transformation. Learn, uh, process yourself, and learn intimacy, give up inhibitions, start to be uh, better in loving, in making love, in expressing yourself, in firmness in decisions, all the things that you know you need, take it up. And of course, we're not talking here about transformation in terms of your career, transformations in certain in terms of image in front of the others. It's about yourself. It's about transforming in your intimate part, in your deepest part of your being. That will make a difference. That will keep you in the very intense experience of being in the beginning. Remember that learning transforms. Learn about all levels of relationship. In other words, practice relationship. Learn about it all the time and do it well. There are so many things that you can learn. Start with intimacy and eroticism, for instance, and learn to be a perfect lover. In this way, you have a lot to do because learning to be a perfect lover will lead you, even if you start with sexual continence, controlling the sexual energy will lead you to controlling emotions, energies, to focus the mind, will lead you actually through an entire journey of self-transformation. And in this way, you transform the home or the relationship in a place where you go to transform and to be like a child in transformation, not like an infant. Regarding the beginning and the way we begin a relationship, I would say a few words now. Starting the relationship can be just an unconscious act or a conscious decision. Now, of course, we should not mistake a conscious act or a conscious decision in an act motivated by a certain reasoning. As I mentioned in the beginning, people sit there, they feel an impulse from their heart, and then they sit there speaking with their friends very anxiously. Do you think I should go? I should pursue this relationship? Is it worthy? Is it? Well, if you find yourself saying that, slap yourself and move on. It's very strange. It's immoral even to put the problem like that. Not from the mind, it comes a decision of the heart. It's the wrong organ. Of course, there is also the other hypothesis where other people take the decision much lower than the heart, if you know what I mean. Also, that is immoral. So either with this head or with that head, wrong. With the one in the middle of the chest is where you take the decision to go to pursue a relationship. Yes, it is very often like an act that is illogical, like something that is crazy. This is the reason why wise people said very often that the heart have reasons that the mind cannot understand. And of course, if we just sit there like monkeys trying to understand the reasons of the heart while we are outside of the heart, that is, of course, not leading us to anything good. What we refer here of a conscious decision, which has to be turned into a firm, clear intention, is something driven by highest aspirations. It's something that is inspired to us, and it comes from the heart. It's something that goes from the heart to the heart. So this is the reason why when beginning a relationship, but again, of course, you will ask probably yourself, what if I already started it? Too late. Yes. Oh, I should have this website 10 years ago. But 10 years ago, this website didn't exist. So here is a time paradox. The point is, you can start anytime. Even if you have the impression you have started it differently than I suggest here, you can anytime put an end and wait, this moment end. When we finish talking here, your relationship as it was ended. You have a new beginning. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, you can start new. So this can work at any time if you mean it intensely. Intention, on the other hand, and here we go into the rabbit hole, so to speak, intention can program the way our experiences unfold. It is a proven fact today by experiences that intention can can influence the quantum field of it. Moreover, in an interesting convergent direction with these recent findings of the modern science, ancient esoteric science is revealing the fact that there is a field of fundamental primordial intentions that represent the foundation of the entire creation. The intelligent designer used it for the creation. And of course, I used here intelligent designer because at least this is accepted by everyone today, including the atheist scientists. But you can call the intelligent designer the way you find fit, God or other names. The important thing is that this field of fundamental intentions as forces can be found even conceptually at the foundation of the entire creation. Now, the interesting part, and what is interesting for us from this statement is the following. The closer our intention is with these primordial intentions, the stronger our intention's impact is. In other words, the greater the impact is. Of course, the question is, how do we get there? How do we get to know this? How do we get to align our intention so strong with this primordial field of fundamental intentions? I give you a hint. We cannot develop too much of this, but I give you just one hint. The heart knows. So, when, for instance, in matters of love, the heart doesn't fall in love randomly. This was already proven, even with statistics and all. The heart doesn't fall in love randomly. The heart brings us together for extremely profound reasons. Now, of course, in terms of intending to have a relationship, we have a hint. That is already there, aligned. But being aligned means also to know how to manifest it. The first condition to have a strong intention to start a relationship is a clear intention. Therefore, we ask our heart about what we want from a relationship. In this way, the way we intend the relationship to be, we will have it. The relationship will be exactly as we intend it to be. From the perspective of what we've said in the very beginning, in this motto that we had, the journey of the ego has no clear beginning, but a clear and distinct end. The journey of the ego has no beginning because the ego is that shadow of our consciousness with half-truths. It's the sum of all our incertitudes, the sum of all our half-truths, the sum of all our unconsciousness. The soul, on the other hand, or the awakened soul, as I wanted to call here, so we distinct between this and ego, has a clear beginning, a moment of enlightenment, a moment of awakening. But that process continues ad infinitum, forever. It's an endless, from the time-space perspective, endless process. In the same way, a relationship based on ego, a relationship based on passions and consciousness, a relationship based on inferior tendencies is a relationship based on ego. Such a relationship begins accidentally. We don't even know how it started. We just wake up in that relationship one morning and we ask the other, who are you? Why are you here? What's your name? And usually that moment is the bitter moment when the spell is gone. The beginning just ended. That's the moment that where people start to wake up a little bit. But unfortunately, they wake up to the tragic reality. Then they are wondering, why did I do all this? Yes. When you're wondering like that, an ego trip which just ended, a distinct end. Now, a journey in a relationship that begins clear with an aspiration, where you clearly know what your heart aspires, that you can even describe in your heart how this relationship grows. It has a clear beginning. You go into it consciously. And that kind of relationship doesn't have an end. It continues, fed by its own intention to infinity. Motto that I used in the beginning, which you can see, we find it in the end. Intention, if we want to make it resemble with this fundamental primordial intentions of the universe, then we have to keep in our attention three fundamental forces, three simultaneously manifested forces in order to form such an intention, even if we want to start a project or we just have to start a relationship. And these are the three forces. A clear choice, and when we say a clear choice, we speak about manifesting beforehand this heartful connection to whatever we are about to start, and to look clearly into what are our choices. Not just to choose because everybody says so, not just choose because of course it is that. There is no doubt. Make a clear choice. Put as much clarity in that choice, exactly as, analogically speaking, you want to shoot with an arrow, and of course you need to choose the target. You need to look at the target, and if the target is foggy, or you don't know where it is, then of course the whole thing is challenged. It will not happen. So this is the reason why we need to put clarity in the choice. That clarification of the choices is actually a process that today for many people is challenged by their incapacity even to focus for long enough upon one topic. They just think a little bit and, oh well, that's a choice. And then, of course, what is very funny and tragic in the same time is that when confronted with the next choice, they go for it as easy as they went for the first choice, and so on, so forth. The drama continues. So, clear choice simultaneously manifested with a strong desire. A strong desire means that we anticipately perceive the result, as if you already hold in your hand, analogically, the result of what you intend to have, intend to manifest. Having a strong desire, of course, in this respect, need a clear choice. You can't have a desire for something that is unclear, but it's also very important that once the choice is very clear, you already know where you are heading, you also manifest a strong desire exactly as you already have it and you enjoy it very much. Independently from the desire has to come a support of willpower. Support of willpower means also that you are ready to engage everything that stays in your power to get there, to fulfill that intention. Because you see, very often we've seen, especially in relationships, people saying, yes, I want that. But then you ask them, and did you do something about it? No. Well, how strongly you wanted that then? If you didn't employ your willpower to make it happen. So, in this respect, again, we have this aspect that need to be sometimes addressed. Once we are able to manifest a clear choice, a strong desire, a powerful will together, we have a very strong, stable intention that will program, that will trigger this, let's say, a response from the universe. Of course, clarifying the choice, we've been checking this clear choice of ours, which will transform into an executive intention, is closest as possible with one of these fundamental intentions of the Supreme Consciousness. In this way, we will be surprised that launching such a clear choice, strong desire, powerful will in the same direction in the form of an intention, the whole universe will move and support that, and then, of course, be ready for transformation. Because engaging a relationship with such an intention means that you just sign a contract for transformation forever, which means you just put on hold the ego forever. That's the price. Now, of course, if you have some comments or questions, you can write it down there, I think, in the chat.
So thank you very much, Advaita. And as he said, you can type your questions in the message box. And as I also said in the beginning, for as we promised, we have a bonus. For those who are fast enough, we offer 25 minutes free consultations with Advaita and his beloved wife, Adina. And two of these slots are with them together, which are next Monday. And the two that are on Tuesday are with Advaita. And these slots are to assess your relationship and how Tantra could help, and receive recommendations of next steps to take. And I also want to mention that the slots are for new participants and students. So if you have already benefited directly from the advice of our wonderful teachers, let's also allow others the same chance, because spaces are limited. So what I will do is to paste the link here in the chat box. And once I've done that, you are very welcome to go ahead and to book. So we have a question also from Greg.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, how do you know that you are not developing a superego? Very good question, Greg. Of course, this is always a concern. How do you know? How do you make sure that all your steps are safe? And let me tell you something quite interesting about this. The universe is a safe place. Contrary to what our ego scares us, the universe is a safe place, and that means that it has a lot of fail-safe mechanisms in place, so that even if, let's say, you try to get to manifest the wrong intention in the wrong time, and you take the wrong turns, so to speak, those forces about which I'm talking here will not engage. If you are not aligned, that's why I mentioned this condition from the very beginning. The closer we are to the better aligned are we with these primordial intentions, the better is our impact. So in this way, the better the impact, it means that we are on the same direction. And the ego, even if it's superego, even if it's gigantic ego, doesn't go in the same direction with the intelligent designer, to call it like that. So it's safe. When we do mistakes in that direction, when we choose the ego, so to speak, when we get tricked by the ego, things are not working. We want, for instance, to preserve the eternal beginning for an ego reason. Don't worry, that eternal beginning will die. Actually, the universe answer to taking the wrong path is death. So each path that it goes in the wrong direction ends nowhere. I mean, not end in the death. Yeah. So it's very simple. It's a kind of a life goes well. All the rest, alternatives, goes death. So it's no problem. That kind of wrong beginning will die. The beginning that is done consciously is going to transformation. Well, the forces actually resist. Can people misread the signs and die? Yes, sometimes it happens, but the universe in its wisdom endowed us with an immortal soul, exactly for such situations, so the children don't hurt themselves fundamentally. The universe gave us with clothes, the physical body, which we can make dirty, we can play around in the playground and even cut them in all kinds of places, and sometimes the mother universe change our clothes, which means we die. And the soul moves to another set of clothes, another body, and we start again. And one day we get out of kindergarten, which means we're not playing with the clothes anymore. And we are not getting dirty anymore. And that is when we become more conscious, more respectful, and we start to salute, we start to respect our kids around, and that is a little further in the process of evolution. But these mistakes, of course, happen. Of course, we shouldn't be scared of doing mistakes, because it's much more scary to do the mistakes and not knowing that you did a mistake. At least when you do a mistake and you already have learned the criteria, you become aware. Oh, good, this was a mistake. But that is a very precious conclusion. You paid with your mistake for it. So actually, that's a very expensive school. Okay. Yeah, well, you heard tonight already an attempt of mapping this, yeah, shortcuts. But I wouldn't say shortcuts. Like mapping stupid mistakes, yes. And tonight you heard me saying some of the classic, and this is what is happening. Very often, actually, lessons consist in this consistent set of possible mistakes, warnings. Hey, don't step there, don't do that, and principles. But again, we cannot exhaust the amazing creativity of people in doing mistakes. So simply, we can, let's say, map a little bit and say what are the classic traps, what are the, like we said today, for instance, the attachment to the beginning is one of the enormously frequent mistakes. But still, I have to say, I've seen quite a lot of others. So I wouldn't always count on the list of shortcuts and the classic mistakes. The solution is to be awakened. The solution is not to have the most comprehensive, up-to-date list of possible mistakes. It's the same like medicine, you know. The solution to stay healthy is not to have the most updated database of medicine. The solution is to stay healthy. It's the best way.
So let's see before we finish. Okay, last question from Manuela.
Yeah, yeah, very nice way of putting it. I'm warning you, don't tell this to him. Don't, don't share it in the very first moment. Don't say, okay, tonight I have no relationship, let's see what will happen tomorrow morning. Even though sometimes guys will like that attitude, I'm telling you subconsciously, the comfort of the people is quite strong in most of us today. It's apart from the fact that we have an inborn appetite for that, we also have huge pressure from the consensus trance of the society. But it is a good start, yes, to look like you have nothing again with the person next to you. Yeah. Rediscover. That's a new beginning. That's a very beautiful life.
Shall we take the last question from Vijay?
The person is making the same mistakes over and over. I'm sorry, Vijay, to say, by putting this question, you show that you also do the same mistake again and again by seeing the same mistake in her or in your partner again and again. So you didn't get the point. I said continuous transformation of yourself. And let me tell you a surprise I had when I discovered the rhythm of continuous transformation. I discovered the fact that even the most stupid person doesn't repeat mistakes. Why? Because I am always transformed. I can see people with different eyes. So therefore, what I thought yesterday it's stupid in what my lover is doing, today I discover, well, there is at least a good part in it. Because now today I'm wiser, I'm more optimistic. Then tomorrow I discover, or the day after tomorrow I discover, no, actually it's even more stupid than I saw it 2 days ago. And then another 3 days later I discover, but actually there is an intrinsic wisdom in that. And then I have a journey of discovering or rediscovering, while the other one apparently is doing the same stupid mistake. So that's why first solve that problem. And then, of course, if a person is choosing, let's take the very stupid mistake, you can say, of pessimism, being pessimistic. Oh, I don't think it will work. No, I don't think we will stay in love forever. No, I don't think it will be possible. No, yeah. Well, your optimism can be so strong that it will never be drowned in the pessimism of the other one. Solve that one first. And then is moral to look at the other one and give a sometimes even lovely advice. Darling, despite the fact that you are a very good training for my optimism, obviously for yourself is kind of harmful. Then you have a position. But before that, you say, you do the same stupid attitude every day. The other one is saying, you do the same stupid attitude towards my attitude every day. Yeah, great. What is the role of belief system in a relationship? Oi. Yeah, that's a, that's a long one. I don't think we have time for...
in a that relationship. Can be for another webinar.
Yeah, yeah. If Kama team organizes and find it interesting, we can have belief systems and relationships.
Could be something. All right, everyone. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Advaita.
Thank you for inviting and all for coming.
Yes, thank you all for coming online in the virtual world. Hope to see you in the real one also.
Yeah.
All right. So good night or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.
Goodbye.